Hi, in this last video about rape culture and feminism, I will be addressing the concept of victim blaming, and I will be explaining what goes against the victims of sexual violence before going through the legal process. Even though victim blaming has been mentioned in a couple of my last videos, I haven't taken the time to explain the concept through and through, so that's what I'm going to talk about. So first of all, the normalized rape culture in which we live in is in direct cause of victim blaming. So victim blaming is the notion of reversing the blame onto the victim and to vindicate someone from their wrongful actions and behaviors. It's a term mostly used in reference of domestic abuse and sexual violence, and can be affected by some cognitive biases engraved in our brains, according to which the world is already an equal place for everyone. So one of these cognitive biases is the defensive attribution hypothesis, which is about the fact that the more a person looks like the victim, the less likely they are to blame them. In fact, they tend to identify themselves with the victim and feel more compassion towards them. So in my last video, I tried to explain why having an intersectional approach while discussing the sexual violence issue is important. In this case, when referring to the defensive attribution hypothesis, it becomes clear that intersectionality and diversity are the key to make sure that the victims are all equally heard, because every one of them deserves to be respected by others without having to face the consequences of a cognitive bias. On a regular basis, victim blaming is often expressed through the harmful saying of asking for it. Way too often, victims of sexual assault have to face questions about what they were wearing, about how much they had to drink the day of the assault, or about their sexual history. Those questions are a way of justifying the actions of a sexual offender by putting the blame onto the victim, as if wearing a miniskirt, for example, was a way of implying consent. So being provocative, seductive, teasing, those are all reasons that are constantly used by offenders to discredit the victim's reality. So apart from being blamed for a traumatizing experience they went through, let's talk about some reasons why victims of sexual violence often don't report their assault. First of all, when we think about what a sexual offender looks like, we usually have this image of a stranger wandering the streets looking very suspicious, while in fact the statistics show that this representation is a complete myth. According to the Canadian Department of Justice, it is nearly 80% of cases that the accused is known from the victim before the assault. When a victim knows personally their offender, if it's a friend, a partner, even a family member, reporting the assault also means to lose someone they trusted. Sometimes it means to go to trial against them and to relive the assault again and again during the legal process. Usually, the victim is still attached to this person and still feel compassion for them, which tend to transform into guilt because they know that accusing someone of sexual assault will stay on their record for life. Also, because they usually have an attachment to their offender, it happens quite often that victims of sexual assault don't always realize what happened to them for a couple of months, even years. So by the time they decide to take action, they are told that it is just too late for them to get justice. Earlier on, we talked about victim blaming affecting the mental process of a victim of sexual assault. One of the common phrases that are precisely used against Them is saying that the victim is responsible for destroying the life of the accused person. This is just another form of victim blaming, which vindicates again an offender from their actions. By saying that, it implies that the person responsible is not in control of their actions and behaviors, and that they're just not guilty. It also diminishes the victim's pain by giving more importance to the offender's life than theirs. So in conclusion, helping victims of sexual assault goes beyond respecting their statement during a legal process. It is about making sure that they feel listened to and considered in the first place. I sincerely hope that my videos on rape culture and feminism have enlightened you on the subject, and I hope that you will help us dismantle the main issue that is sexual violence.